Hey guys, John here with RealTruck.com. Today I'm going to show you how to install the T-Rex Upper Class Mesh Grille onto a 2012 Ford F-150. As you can see here, we've got the grill out of the box and all unwrapped. Comes with everything you need to get this installed into the truck. You have your grill and all your mounting hardware. So next thing to do is get that old one out and get this one in. We want to take some masking tape and mask off our grill and around our hood so that way we don't scratch anything up when we start to pry this grill shell off of this truck. Okay, now you can see here that we've got our grill and the area around our grill on our hood all taped up so that we don't scratch that when we go to get this grill out of here. The next step of the process is to go ahead and open this grill up and take the bolts loose that hold it on. Now on this particular grill, on this truck, there's several bolts that line along the top of here that we're going to take the nuts off of those. And then there's a couple, as you can see, down here on the bottom. And we'll go ahead and take those loose, and then I'll show you how to get that grill shell out of the truck. What we want to do is we want to take either a thin flat screwdriver or a thin bar, a thin pry bar, something of that nature, and just kind of get in between the grill and the hood and just kind of lift and give it a little pry in at the same time. Now it's going to be a little bit stiff because there's clips actually in here that hold this in place, as well as those bolts that we took out earlier. Okay, now that we've got our grill out, we've got it laid up here where we can work with it. The next step of this process is to go ahead and take our die grinder, and what we want to do is cut it out along these edges here and cut these top and bottom bars out so we can get the center of this grill out of this shell so that we can put our new grill in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use a die grinder with a narrow bit on this, and what that'll do is that'll just allow me a little better control, and I can just give it a little cut along the edges here so that way we don't, you know, get too deep into the grill shell itself, because we kind of want to keep that pretty much intact. A person could actually use a hacksaw or a sawzall, or even say a rotary tool such as a Dremel with a cutting wheel on it to go along and do the same thing. Now that we've got our grill cut loose, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take our center section and we'll set this off to the side. And then what I'll do is I like to come back in here and kind of clean up these edges a little bit where you can see where we ground it out. And then typically I'll just get a little black paint and just kind of spray that gray that's left over, just so that way when we get our grill in our truck, we don't see any of that behind it. It gives us a much cleaner, nicer look and finish. We've got the grill shell out of the truck. We got everything all cut out. So the next step is to go ahead and install our grill. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our grill and we're going to set it into the grill shell where it's going to fit, make sure that everything looks good, make sure it all lining up really nice. And then we're going to just turn this over and start attaching our brackets to the back side of this to hold this in. So we'll get that done now. What we're going to do here, as you can see, we have two different style of bracket. You look at those right there. We're going to use these on the top side, and we'll use these on the bottom to hook over and attach onto the grill shell. What we're going to do here now is make sure that we've got our grill lined up on our grill shell, and you can pretty much tell just by looking at your bolts where you're at as far as lining it up. And we're going to go ahead and tighten these top ones down to hold this in place. And I'm going to put this one on, and then I'm going to tighten down these two bottom ones, in the center here to hold it in place on the bottom. We've got all of our brackets attached to our grill and our grill attached to our grill shell. So let's go ahead and turn this over and take a look, make sure everything looks good before we put this in the truck. We've got our grill set back into the truck. So now we're going to go ahead and put our bolts back in. Both are all back up. And that's just a matter of putting all these bolts in that we took out to take our grill shell out of here. So we'll get those all back in, and we'll take a look at this thing and see what it looks like in the truck. Okay guys, there you have it. You can see we got the grill in. It looks really nice in this truck. And you can see now how easy and simple it is to actually install this T-Rex upper class mesh grill into this 2012 F-150. So until next time, happy motoring.